This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
Is it me, or is it beginning to look a lot like Christmas in here? Welcome to another Farm Monitor. As you can see, Ray is off this week. However, he still has a heavy presence in the show. Coming up, not a day goes by that we don't hear about the global supply chain crisis. We'll talk to an expert about the issues at hand and how they're impacting area food banks. Of course, it's that time of year when pecan producers are shaking things up a bit. However, the types of yields they're seeing are also shaky, no thanks to Mother Nature. Plus, with his impending retirement just weeks away, ABAC President David Bridges sits down with Ray and discusses some of his fondest memories at the school and why he feels there's no better time than the present to pass on the title of president to someone else. These stories and so much more start right now on the Farm Monitor. With 8 different regional centers around the state distributing food to all 159 counties, the Georgia Food Bank Association has been integral during this unprecedented time of need. However, with the ongoing global supply chain crisis, keeping up with that increased demand has been more challenging than ever. As Damon Jones found out, it's not just one issue affecting donations, it's a number of issues.
With holiday season now underway, food banks like this one in Atlanta are in full swing supplying those in need with both food and essential supplies. However, with all the increased expenses due to supply chain issues, there has been a noticeable decline in the amount of products being donated.
Still a lot of disruption in the supply chain for food, and they have seen produce donations go down because of supply chain issues. The cost of the freight has doubled in many lanes around the metro Atlanta area. It's increased by 50%. The cost of pallets has tripled since pre-pandemic levels, and so it costs more for growers to donate to us. Those out-of-pocket expenses are really significant.
While corporations, along with the agricultural industry, have been able to offset some of the decline, produce and goods aren't the only thing these food banks are running low on, as the increased costs have trickled down to essential items for shipping and packing.
We remind people, especially during the holidays, that while we have really generous partners in the agriculture industry, that the food banks still need funds to help facilitate those donations because the cartons and the boxes and the pallets, are expensive, and they're getting more expensive right now.
In large distribution centers like this one, there is plenty of room to store fresh produce while it's waiting to be packed. But that's not the case for smaller food banks, which rely on non-perishable goods due to lack of refrigeration. And unfortunately, that's been one of the areas most affected by the increased costs.
When you don't have a lot of shelf-stable food available, there are some agencies in rural communities and populations in rural communities where that shelf-stable food really makes a difference. That last mile of the supply chain is difficult to refrigerate, and so the current aluminum shortage is contributing to the lack of processed food and canned goods that are available to you and me at the grocery store, and available to the food banks as well.
With so much uncertainty heading into the new year, it's essential that everyone continue to help out with the hunger epidemic even after the end of the holiday season.
No one should be hungry during the holidays, but I would like to remind people that while we think about hunger and food during the holidays, because food is such an important part of our faith traditions during this period of time, hunger exists every day, especially summer hunger for children who are out of school. And so the support of our Georgia farmers who donate to us, the support of the donor community and the corporate community who donate food and funds to the food bank network statewide continue to be critically important.
Reporting from Fulton County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
After coming off their most productive year ever with more than 140 million pounds harvested, Georgia pecan producers are preparing for a far less haul this time around. But as John Holcomb reports, a low supply doesn't necessarily mean all hope is lost.
2020 was perhaps the best year pecan growers in the state have ever had. But sadly, this year, growers in the state will be lucky to get a percentage of that number. It's something Andrew Sawyer, area pecan agent for Southeast Georgia, says they were expecting, but didn't expect numbers as low as what they're seeing now.
Last year we had such a big crop. What was it going to be this year? You know, and from that perspective, there's going to be some type of alternation with these trees. You know, we come into 2021 and you know you're not going to have what you had last year, 130, 140 million pounds in Georgia. So we already knew that coming in. But what we're seeing right now is reflective of many different things that have occurred through the season.
Of course, from the very beginning, things started off difficult as Mother Nature delayed the start of the growing season.
The pecan crop in 2021 started late. So we were cold in April. We were dry, which was helpful to the growers, but that cool temperature slowed bud break. So by the time these leaves come out and the trees got started on the season, we were already 10 days to even 2 weeks behind.
Not to mention having to deal with rain and scab disease that comes with it. But Sawyer says what really hurt growers the most was cloudy weather they got during their peak production window.
There was about a week in September, 16th through 20-something, where our solar radiation was real low. It was about 50% of normal. And so these trees, these leaves, you know, they're pulling in that sunlight and they're turning that into energy, you know, to make this crop. And they just didn't have it. And so what did it hurt? It hurt the mid-season varieties more than anything else. And that is the most of what we have in the state.
It's because of those issues that Sawyer says supply is going to be very low this year. In fact, the last time they've seen yields this low was 15 years ago.
It's mainly going to be limited supply. You know, we're just going to see a lot less crop this year, a lot less than we thought, you know, and, you know, we'll see if we can stay around the 50 million pound mark for Georgia, you know. The lowest is low 40s, and I think it was 2006, you know, so that's what's happening. It's like you get through the season, and whatever you thought, sometimes it's less, but what we thought was less is turning out to be really less.
But in the end, it could turn out to not be such a terrible thing for growers as the price has remained steady.
Truly, the price is reflecting, you know, supply. You know, we're just down this year, you know. So, you know, anything that's over 50% kernel, you know, it's putting them in that higher range, that better class. And then after that, it's coming down to nut count, you know. So smaller nut count, larger nuts, then they're faring better, you know, on that side of things. So from their perspective, you know, that's helping.
Reporting in Zenith for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
For 16 years, he's been at the forefront of ABAC's rapid growth and development. But soon, President David Bridges will retire, and someone else will take over the reins. The advice he has for his successor when the Farm Monitor continues. It was an offer the Farm Monitor couldn't refuse. Travel to Tifton, be one of the first to use ABAC's brand new TV studio, and have a conversation with outgoing college president David Bridges. Back in September, Dr. Bridges announced his plan to retire at year's end. His 16 years as ABAC president filled with so many accomplishments. In part one of Ray's conversation with Dr. Bridges, they touch upon the many changes ABAC has endured under his guidance. And maybe the most important question of all, why retire now when the school is as popular as it's ever been?
So I want to start with a sports comparison. The great John Elway wins back-to-back Super Bowls, retires. Peyton Manning wins his final Super Bowl, retires, goes out on top. Is that the case here, Dr. Bridges? Because I know when I read the release that you were retiring, I'm like, why? ABAC's at the top of its game. He's got this place reeling right now. Why leave? Because is this the perfect time to leave then?
Well, as I told the chancellor, she sort of asked me the same question. And I said, well, there may never be a good time, but it's the right time.
Right.
And so I'm in my 16th year. I feel like we have accomplished a great deal. I think we are in a good place. I think the college is in a good place. And it has more to do with, I still enjoy the job. I could stay here 3 or 4 more years and it wouldn't bother me in the least. But I have another equal passion that I need to devote more time to, and that's the Center for Rural Prosperity and Innovation.
Okay.
And I can't continue to work at the pace that I've been working the last 3 years doing both.
Right.
And so I think it's ultimately this ride as president has to end, and now it's the right time and move on to another pursuit.
You were recently quoted as saying the greatest challenge for the administration at ABAC is to change the things that need to be changed, but keep the things that need to be kept to make it ABAC.
Right.
Elaborate on that for me. What is ABAC to you?
Yeah, so, you probably know I attended ABAC as a student. And I still see a great deal of the attributes of the colleges that I attended in the 70s that are still present. Small, caring, safe. Okay, tell me about your experience at ABAC. Most will tell you they made lifelong friends. Quite a few will tell you they met their spouse.
Sure.
Those sorts of things. So I think there are a number of features of the college that make us who we are. Rural, caring, safe environment, place where people have names, not numbers, a place where the president, the vice presidents, and the leadership team eat in the dining hall, not in a faculty dining room, but at tables with students. So I think my comment there, and I've been making that comment since the day I arrived here, is we don't need to change things for the sake of changing things, but we do need to change those things that are required for us to continue the legacy of experience. We had to move into being a boutique, baccalaureate institution with excellent programs, but you can't be everything to everybody.
Right.
And so that's I said that then and I still say it now, and that will probably be the only piece of advice that I will give the incoming president, and that is, run it the way you wish to run it, the way you think it needs to be run. But remember, try to keep in place as many of those things as you possibly can that define what ABAC has been for 113 years.
You look at your overall body of work. What are you most proud of? Is it the fact that you went from a 2-year school to a 4-year school? Is it, the record number of enrollments that you guys get every year? Is it keeping the South Georgia kids in South Georgia? What are you most proud of?
Well, I've said in quite a few interviews that the thing that I'm proudest of is that we accomplished the transition from being a 2-year college to 4. I think most people outside the world of higher education, and in fact many people within the academy, don't understand what that entails.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a change of everything. Culture. It's a change of who you recruit. It's a change of who you hire as faculty members. Your goal becomes different. When you're a 2-year institution, you're just trying to get people out of high school, get them settled into a college routine, get a foundation, and get them ready to move on to another institution to complete their degree. When you're a 4-year institution, it's about finishing the job.
Right.
And making sure that student that graduate can find a place in the world, hopefully be gainfully employed and contribute to their community. So that's probably the accomplishment-wise, that's the one that I would point to.
Again, that's part one of our conversation with soon-to-be retired ABAC President Dr. David Bridges. Next week, in part two of our interview, Dr. Bridges talks about his longevity at ABAC, 16 years, longest-serving president among the 26 institutions here in Georgia. Also, what Dr. Bridges says his final days at the college may look like, or at least what he hopes they look like. Again, that's next week on the Farm Monitor. Well, don't forget, if you missed any part of our interview with Dr. Bridges or other features on today's program, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel, The Farm Monitor. Plenty of content, lots of variety, and best of all, the archive goes all the way back to 2009. And while you're there, keep clicking and like the Farm Monitor Facebook page. If you have a story idea or if you just want to leave us a comment or suggestion, send us a message either on Facebook or at the address that is on your screen. That is news@farm-monitor.com. So just how broken is the so-called supply chain? And what kind of impact is it having on the ag industry? Those questions and more next.
I believe it is a great time to be a Georgian. The Port of Savannah and the Georgia Ports Authority is the engine that keeps that economic success going here in the Peach State. Also serve as a leading solution to the global supply chain crisis.
It's well known throughout our company that the GPA is the best ports association to work with. The terminal here at Garden City runs more smoothly than any of the other large terminals that we work with throughout the country.
While others have been pointing fingers, the Port of Savannah and the Georgia Ports Authority have rolled up their sleeves and they've gotten to work with solutions.
We're here at the port to really celebrate the opening of the new rail bundle. This bundle has been an exciting project that the port's been working on for several years, and CSX is excited and happy to be here to celebrate with them.
I'm proud to announce that we're officially commissioning the final set of 9 working tracks at the Mason Mega Rail Terminal, which will increase the Georgia Ports Authority's rail lift capacity to 2 million TEUs per year. The 85-acre rail yard is the largest of its kind for a port terminal in North America.
This is going to help us clear up some of the supply chain challenges that we see.
We have the ability to process far more cars, do it much more efficiently, and we can get freight over the road a lot quicker as a result of it. It's really exciting to be a part of this, to see the growth.
Our customers tell us consistently that they want more options other than just the ones they have, that they want to ship more volume into the U.S., and Georgia Port Authority is aligned with Norfolk Southern and growing and continue to expand their product of services to help us and our customers meet those ends.
It's just going to greatly help them serve more importers in the United States and exporters as well.
As we think about being able to grow with the port, we're excited about looking at new market opportunities like Chicago and places that we see continued growth in the future, and we think it's important for such a large and booming port to be able to serve.
In other words, there's nothing else like this in the United States.
Well, in case you were keeping count, 3 times in that piece we heard the mention of supply chain crisis. In fact, lately it's a term we hear in the news pretty much on a daily basis. Surprisingly, a great number of people don't know a lot about the supply chain, what it consists of, how it got to this point, and more importantly for our audience, how the current crisis will affect the ag industry. For those answers and more, Ray sought out the expertise of Marty Parker, a lecturer in the University of Georgia's Terry College of Business Department of Management.
Nowadays, we hear so much about the supply chain this, the supply chain that. Give us a broad scope of what exactly the supply chain consists of.
So the supply chain is the transfer of goods and information. So those goods are all the way from the raw materials through to manufacturing, through to customs and ships and ports and trucks, all the way to your retailer or to your e-com provider to get you your products. But it's also all of the data that goes along with that. And so we rely on it every day, and we just didn't even know it was there until a pandemic and the kinds of things that have disrupted it.
Yeah, and which leads us, of course, to the supply chain crisis. We're talking empty store shelves. We're talking delayed shipping, car manufacturers unable to produce cars because they're, waiting on parts. There's a lack of parts. How did we get here? Is COVID to blame for it? Was it the shift in the power, presidential power, or was it a combination of things?
It's obviously a combination of things, but pandemic. So number one, the pandemic shifted our demand curves, the things we buy. When it first hit, we stopped buying from restaurants and we started cooking at home and doubled the amount of food and things like that. Well, the product was prepackaged to go to commercial places. So that those changes, I know, for example, some retailers that saw a 0% increase in e-com literally overnight, and had to scramble in order to get warehouses and people in order to ship those things. That change in demand made it very difficult to know, well, what should we do? One of the huge bottlenecks are the 6-7 million people that have dropped out of the workforce with the Great Resignation. So as I have more e-com, as I need more trucks, as I need more warehouse workers, right at the worst possible time, we can't hire them.
What kind of an impact is it having on the ag industry? And kind of a two-part question, what kind of an impact is it having on the ag industry, and is it going to get worse before it gets better?
Yeah, so I brought a few statistics. The price index for used tractors, as an example, has gone up 19% last year, but 30 to 50%, 50% in 2 years since the pandemic began. And this is a tight margin business, and it is live or die. You harvest or you don't. You have a tractor or you don't. You have the spare parts to repair your tractor or the money to buy a new one, the working capital required, or you don't. You miss it, you can't plant, you can't harvest. And then on top of that, farmers have seen either massive increases in demand or massive reductions in demand. And so they've got to try to adjust accordingly. And what's going to happen in the future? What should I plant? When should I plant it? What are people going to be buying? And that's all been made very uncertain in a pandemic.
So what would your advice, final question, what would your advice be to farmers? Just hang tight, it's going to get better?
I'm giving that advice to a lot of people. And what I will tell you first is we are in an inflationary period because of scarcity. And if all of my costs are going up, the last thing I want to do is not raise my price. So I know how hard that is. I know that all the places you sell to will tell you no, but you must insist. You must know your margins. You must know whether you're making money or not, and just make the decision to do it. You can always reduce it later if you need to, but in a time of scarcity is a time to raise prices. Now, consumers aren't going to like that, and people that take your products and make things out of them aren't going to like it, but you have got to do it. It's a matter of life and death. And it will get better, but I think that farmers need to be really tight on their numbers right now. And we are not used to inflation like this. We're not used to increasing prices. And this is a different time and needs a different kind of behavior.
Well, sir, you are the expert. So I think we'll go with your advice and we'll just kind of hang tight. And as always, Marty, we cannot thank you enough. And I'm sure we will be talking about this in the months to come.
My pleasure, Ray. Anytime, you know where to find me.
Yes, some really good insights there. Our thanks to Marty Parker for providing his expertise on this subject. And always, thank you for making this show possible. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on the Farm Monitor. Have a great week.